In 1492, Christopher Columbus sailed the ocean and was the first white man to find North America. In 1692, the first slaves arrived in Jamestown, Virginia. Ever since then, racism took its toll on America, and black people were property for a very, very long time. After many years of suffering, slavery was abolished in 1865 by the ratification of the 13th Amendment. Although racism ended 153 years ago, many believe that racism is still an issue in our society today. Today, I'm going to talk about how racism still is a part of the American culture through the eyes of the law and the media. Many people believe that racism through the media is one of the biggest issues Americans face as a society. A journalist in CNN, Ryan Stoic, wrote that blacks and whites see racism in the United States very, very differently. For example, in the movie Hunger Games, there was a black girl character named Drew. Although she was just a character, many African Americans believed that she was being portrayed as weak and vulnerable. And many African Americans tweeted about it and showed their controversy online. As data shows that African Americans and whites see discrimination differently. While 87% of blacks said that they face much discrimination in the United States, only 49% of the white people believe it is true. As you can see, racism is a big issue in the media even today. Some might say that it does not exist, but many believe otherwise. As a society, it is our duty to change that perspective that the media puts on race. Now I'm going to talk about racism through the law. Racism through the law is still something that's big even today, and it began ever since slavery started. Some of the examples that racism through the law has been going on for a very long time is in 1930, President Roosevelt passed the Social Security Act, intentionally excluding farmers and servants. This act only enabled white people to benefit from it and left the black people behind. When we come to today's society, we can see that blacks are more likely to receive a harsher sentence than white for the same crime committed. And an article written by Cohen, Racism versus Reality, he says that racial profiling is necessary in order to catch the right criminals. However, Cohen fails to see how the racial profiling is being used is affecting African Americans and the view on racism in our society today. Also, police stop blacks and Latinos at rate much higher than whites. Blacks that are arrested are more likely to stay in prison waiting on trial than white people. The law, as you can see, even in today's society, the law is against African Americans and is affecting them even today. Although some might say that racism has ended very, very long ago, maybe even 1865, there are data and facts that prove otherwise, and many African Americans and colored people believe that there's still discrimination in the American society, and in order to change that, we as people have to come together and change the way we live and the way we think by teaching our children differently, not to use racial profiling the way we do, and not discriminating characters in movies or any sort of media. Thank you.